So I wanted to do a quick video concerning um, our relationship with God. So I have been so blessed by God, right? I left Trenton. I had $300. I went to Mobile. I didn't know anybody, and here I am making a video. Um, on my cell phone, very comfortable, right? Um, and this time with God has been like so like I want to say great because even in like the struggling parts, like God is like so like he has such a sense of humor. You know what I mean? So the thing about it is like I've been trying to figure out how to love God. Um because and I also wanted to understand how to like encounter him or communicate with him or relate to him because I can't perceive him. But I know for a fact that he's with me. Everybody who knows me, especially since I've been down south, they know that God is with me, right? So I know all the times where no good things he withholds from me. I know all the times when he saves me just in the nick of time from every single thing. Like I know all the times that he gives me ideas and things like that. So um, but I feel like I don't want to like love him or relate to him just because of the things that he does for me, right? And so I heard this song, I love God because of who you are. So I'm like, okay, let me listen to that song. But then she begins to just talk about the things that God does. I love you because you're Jehovah Nisi, you're my provider. I love you because you're Jehovah. I think Rapha, you reign, you're my protector. Like she's just talking about the things that God does, and like that still doesn't make God like um real, right? You know what I'm saying? Where I can like relate to him. So there's a theory called the Boltzmann brain, and there are a couple of theories. One of them is that we all are just brains in outer space. I don't like that one. I like the other theory that the world or the universe is just chaos, right? Just chaos all over the place, right? And for like maybe in a million years or millions of years or billions of years of this chaos, um it's logical that a brain would be developed, and once the brain has been developed, now it exists. And so uh in theory we would say that God is that brain that developed. And I don't think, if we were to think about it like this, I don't think that negates God at all. But in theory, we would say that God is that brain that has been developed, the divine mind, right? So when he said, let's make man in our image, image actually means imagination. Let's make him in our imagination, right? So that this world that we are, God is just thinking the world, and we are thoughts of God, right? So how then do I still like relate to God, right? Because I got to relate to him. I have to have a real relationship with him beyond just the things that he does for me. So I would say like right when grandma died, during that time when my whole town was against me, nobody was for me and everything like that, I had a dream, and I was sitting at a banquet, and I don't know if somebody wrote it or if it just appeared on the wall. It was Deah. Like it just that was just the writing on the wall. I think there's a Bible story like that. This was my dream. We were sitting at like a banquet. We were sitting like eating or whatever, and then on the wall, Deah came on the wall. So I woke up and I was asking everybody, do they know what it mean? And people thought I was saying like Deah, like deer and all kinds of stuff like that. But and then when I investigated it, when I typed it into Google at that time, there was no definition. And so that always stuck with me. I think because of the similarity to the the Bible story, right? So was that Daniel? If that was Daniel, I'm about to bug out. But anyway, um so um now recently, I'd say like maybe like years, like last 2 years, I realized that, or I've discovered that Deah means is the Hebrew word for knowledge, and so El Deah is the God of all knowledge. So now I'm thinking to myself, um, how can I relate to God, right? Beyond the things that He does for me, right? And my thought was, well, when do you feel like God is like with you, like, you know what I'm saying, like when do you feel like you're having an interaction with God? And the answer is when He educates me, you know. I remember when God, like, for when I felt like our line of communication was first officially open, and I remember I used to like cry all the time because God would explain so many things to me, and I felt like He's deigning to explain to me. You know what I mean? And even now it's like I'll ask God for an answer to something. All I have to do, well, everybody, it says, if you lack knowledge, ask God, and He'll get who gives to all men liberally, and He'll give it to you and not be mad. But at the same time, um, like God just He educates me so much, and it's like I'll ask God a question, right? Like, hey God, blase, hey God, why is the sky blue? That's just, obviously it would be something deeper than that, but, and, and then I would repeat that Bible verse, right? Um, and then, maybe like an hour or two, something will come into my head, and it's literally like a conversation, and it'll be like, do you remember that time you saw this thing? And I'm like, yeah. And then it's like, well, how about this? And it's just like God, like He like teaches me, like literally. And sometimes it's like so profound, right? That I cry. You know what I mean? Not just that He's deigning to explain things to me, like why He did things or why He allowed me to go through things where He didn't even do that. Well, I guess He did it with Job, but like sometimes, because the thing about it is, it's a question that I have, right? And so when I get the answer so freaking deep, you know what I'm saying? Like when I get an answer, um, that is just like so deep, right? Um, it makes me cry because this is when I'm encountering God. This is my relationship with God. You know what I'm saying? Um, because he got to be the one giving it to me. He's giving me this answer, right? Him or the Holy Spirit, which is His power, right? And so this is my relationship with God. And it says we perish for lack of knowledge. You won't listen. Anybody who ever got at me, they got at me because I didn't have knowledge of what they was doing. Soon as I have the knowledge of it, soon as I get the knowledge of what's going on, the battle is over. You know what I'm saying? And so, like God, and so when he tells me things, whether it's um maybe what somebody might have done, or whatever, or just some deep knowledge, you know, um such as what we're talking about now, right? When He tells me these things, it's this is how I interact with Him. This is when I relate with God. You know what I mean? Like I would dare say, they say that prayers, you have to be asking for something. This is my communion with God, right? Because I don't know the answer. I ask a question, and then God like reasons with me, right? In my mind, and He teaches me, like, and He's patient, and I feel like he created like my mind to be able to um reason with Him. I joke to myself that if God's the divine mind, that I'm probably like His weed. You know what I mean? Because we're able to get so deep. Obviously, you know, I'm you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, this is how I relate to God. So guess what? the different names of God, just like because I think about the African religions, I think one thing that makes these religions impressive is that you have like your own particular deity, right? It's hard to really feel special to God, the creator of everybody, because God is love. He loves everybody. Here's the thing. Maybe El Deah is my God. So these different names of gods are they're different like aspects or personalities. You know what I'm saying? So for example, so when he made me, he was in El Deah. Just like sometimes you're in your ego. When I used to go to Newark, I was Cali, right? And Cali, like she had a whole different like mind state. She actually even looked different, if you ask me. She had a different style of dress. She had a different way that she talked. Like she was a completely and Newark, if somebody would have said Shonda, I would not have turned around. Whereas in Trenton, if somebody would have said Cali, I would not have turned around, right? So when we say that God has all these different names, we also mean that he has these different aspects, right? And so when God made me, he made me when he was in El Deah, when he was in his El Deah bag, just like some people do things in their ego, right? Um, yeah, that's too deep. You don't want to say that. So when so Jehovah Rapha and all these things, I don't like. I pray. My God is El Deah. When God El Deah created me, and so I think everybody who like God has created like everybody in a certain aspect, right? So like for me, when God gives me all this great stuff, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like communion with God, right? Whereas for somebody else who maybe has the spiritual gift of giving, when they receive things, it probably feels like communion with God. Like they're in awe. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I think that's just what I wanted to say is that we should, like, if we're trying to figure out like how am I going to relate to God, you know, how am I going to commune with God and interact with God and have a relationship with God beyond his protection and his provision. And the answer is you just have to look at like I don't want to say like your particular spiritual gift, because being or maybe your station or whatever, you know what I mean? Because you might be created in the imagination of Jehovah Rapha, right? Or you might be some people might be straight Elohim, like, you know what I mean? Like everybody probably has like a unique um aspect of God, right? Um that created them, or that's the aspect, or that's the I don't want to say ego, but that's the mm, that's the mind state. That's the mind state that God was in when he created you. So there are probably as many names of God as they are, because El Deah is a very, very obscure name. When you see all these names of God, you very rarely see El Deah, right? Because it's really only one time, right? But um like once God gives me the knowledge on something, the game over. You know what I'm saying? The game over. I'm just waiting on him to you know, rescue me, or just make the way open for me to go, right? So if you're wondering like how can I relate to God? How can I commune with God? How can I have a real relationship with God outside of what he does? You have to ask yourself, like, in what situation or in what type of event are you like cognizant of God? You know what I'm saying? And one might say, well, you got to be cognizant of God if he is sending these people to pick you up, and when you're, you know, just when you're in a nick of time and blase blase. Yeah, but I'm talking about, when do you feel like you and God are like? And I hate to say it like that because, you know, if anybody who knows me, they know God's protection over my life. They know God's provision for me, right? And so, of course, I understand that these things are God, right? And I have an appreciation for God, but I'm talking about a relationship, like a friendship almost. You know what I'm saying? A true interaction. You know what I mean? Not just what he does, but like, how do you relate to him? You know what I mean? And so for me, it's just so clear. It's just so clear. Like I feel like we literally have discussions. You know, I talk out loud back, and people like, they said they want to say you crazy, all kinds of stuff. The same people who call you, listen, God bless y'all. I ain't gonna say nothing like that. God bless y'all. But I am working on like doing it in my head. But one time I was going to the Walmart, and I saw this girl. She was signing to herself, and I thought she was saying something to me, and she's like, no, I'm signing to myself. She didn't say that, but she was just like, because nobody else was there, and she just going off on the signing. So talking to ourselves, it's like when you say I'm fat, are you the person that's talking or listening, right? But yeah, when you trying to figure out, when you get to a point where God is so gracious and so good, you know what I mean? Because that's how God you know what I'm saying? When you get to the point where he's so good that you're like, yo, I have to have a relationship. Like I have to relate with you. Like, you know what I mean? You're so present in my life. You have to figure out what aspect, what's the name of your God? You know what I mean? What's the name of your God? Your version of God? And then, one might say, well, what happens when you need the provider? And what happens when you need, duh, right? But for me, I'm not going to, but no, I always be needing a protector and stuff like that. I don't know how, like, duh, it just, he is all those things. So he just gets into that bag. But like your particular God, like your particular creator, the aspect God was in,